Good morning, Aldersley. I hope you're okay. It is Tuesday the 16th of June and I'm going to be leading today's assembly with you. So I want to just start by reminding you of the Action for Happiness calendar. I know that there are lots of members of staff who are tweeting about it. I know that it is being mentioned in your Amethyst Happiness Hours, but I want to draw upon today, so the 16th of June. Today's Joyful June is ask a loved one what they feel grateful for at the moment. So can you ask somebody in your house, or could you phone somebody, message them? What are they grateful for at the moment? And share what you're grateful for too, because yes, these are difficult circumstances that we're currently living in, and it's not the perfect world that that we all want, but there is still lots to be grateful for. So what are you currently grateful for? I'll also offer up 100 points to anybody who watches the assembly and then comments on the Aldersley All Staff page with what they are currently feeling grateful for at the moment. And I did share this at the start of the half term with you, but did you know you can access the calendar in lots of different languages? So you might know someone who can't speak English. So could you share it with them in another language so that they too can be happy every day, think about something happy every day. And then from an MFL point of view, could you challenge yourselves to read it in French or Spanish? So if you go onto the Action for Happiness website, so actionforhappiness.org, you'll be able to find all of the different links to it in different languages. So yesterday, Mrs. Treble set you a few challenges. So think about something uncertain this week and reflect on how it makes you feel. Plan actions that you can take to reduce your anxiety and how anxious you might feel in regards to something that's due to happen this week or month. And can you do something to help somebody else feeling anxious about something that is uncertain? Did you do any of those challenges yesterday? Make sure you tell us about them. Email Mrs. Treble or tweet her on Twitter, or drop us a message on Teams. We always are really looking forward to hearing about how you get on with these daily challenges and whether you really push yourselves to achieve them. So my challenges today are, I really want you to keep securing those award points. So you will have seen yesterday I shared with you the top 10 across all of your year groups. There was quite a change yesterday in who was number one. So who can challenge themselves to get 100 points today? And just by listening to this assembly and then responding to the Action for Happiness, that will get you 100 points, won't it? So don't miss out on those challenges. Again, as I mentioned, ask a loved one what they feel grateful for at the moment. Or you can ask a friend, or you can ask a teacher. It's entirely up to you. And then off the back of my last assembly, so the last assembly with you was on the 1st of June. So when we first came back after half term, and I asked you to set yourself some goals. So can you reflect today on your work towards those goals? So we're now 3 weeks in. This is our third week into summer term 2. It's week 10 in our virtual school. So how are you getting on in regards to reaching those goals? Have you been resilient? And that links to today's assembly. Are you always aspiring to be your very best? And if you're not, or if you're struggling to meet those goals, who do you need to ask for support from? It's really important that we use that support network and that we use each other to support one another in achieving those goals. So really push yourselves today with that one. Okay, so off the back of that then, I really want you to be quite reflective this morning and think about, do you aspire to be your very best every single day? So do you always try to be your best? And then what happens if you fail? So are you resilient? And we use that word quite a lot in school, don't we? We talk about being resilient. We talk about bouncing back from things. And ultimately, that's what being resilient means. It means if you have a little bit of a knockback, can you spring back up from that, learn from what's happened, and then get back on the horse, so to speak? So are you resilient when things maybe don't go your way, or when perhaps you don't do as well at something as you hoped you were going to? Are you resilient? And it's a really important trait to have and a really important trait to develop. So please consider your resilience. It is really important that you are resilient. Now, for me, I think, especially during lockdown, you are all being incredibly resilient. So in an ideal world, you would all be at school now and, the weather would be beautiful. and we'd all be really enjoying our lessons in the classroom or outside, but you're not. You're working from home and you're working remotely. And in my eyes, that makes you resilient, because even though you're not doing what's planned and you're not doing, what you'd like to do, you're still bouncing back from that every single day. And think about, are you resilient with your assessments? So when you get your assessments back and perhaps you haven't done as well as you hoped for, or as well as you wanted to, or you thought you might. So you might have walked out of an assessment and thought, I've absolutely smashed that, I've done really, really well. And you don't do as well. What do you do with that information? So when your teacher gives you that feedback, do you go, oh, well, it doesn't matter because I didn't get my target grade, or I didn't do as well as I wanted to? Or do you reflect on it and say, okay, well, I know I need to do X, Y, and Z next time, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be resilient. I'm going to bounce back from that negative there and make sure that next time it's a positive. So I'm hoping that you're thinking of some instances there where either you have been resilient or perhaps you could have been more resilient. And it was really interesting when I was doing a little bit of research into people who have had to be incredibly resilient. And off the back of the Period 7 and Breakfast student voice that I asked you to complete, where lots of you were asking for a basketball club, and I have shared that with Mr. Lane. I'm looking forward to seeing what the new timetable looks like. I came across Michael Jordan, so as we know, a really famous basketball player. But interestingly, did you know that he was cut from the high school basketball team? So the coach said, no, sorry, you can't be on the team. And he went home that night and he locked himself in his room and cried. He'd had a setback, hadn't he? He was told that he couldn't be on his high school basketball team. Now, Michael Jordan's life from that very event, from that very moment, could have gone multiple ways, couldn't it? He could have given up with basketball and said, well, my coach didn't want me, so, I'm obviously not very good at basketball. But instead, he showed true resilience. And the next morning, he joined another team. And we all then know what's happened since. He's got 2 Olympic gold medals. He's got 6 NBA championship rings, 5 MVPs, so the basketball most valuable player. So he didn't give up. He aspired to be the best he could possibly be. So think about that there. Are you as resilient as Michael Jordan? Because that for me is absolutely inspirational. And at the end of the assembly, there's a little YouTube link there that you can click on and watch a very short video about Michael Jordan. He talks about falling down, but always getting back up. That's the epitome of resilience, isn't it? Falling down, but getting yourself back up. And interestingly, it goes really quite far back in history in regards to people who've had to be resilient. So a famous composer, Beethoven, was told by his own music teacher, as a composer, he is hopeless. So his music teacher told him he was hopeless at composing. Look at how many symphonies he's written now. Look at how, he's such a famous composer, a famous musician. So he was resilient, wasn't he? It didn't matter what his teacher had said. He was going to chase his dreams. And then Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper. And this is a direct quote from the editor. The editor said he lacked imagination and had no original ideas. I would say Disney is pretty original and very imaginative. I don't think we could argue, could we, that Walt Disney isn't imaginative and doesn't have original ideas. Look at those characters. Look at everything that he has developed. So he was resilient there again, wasn't he? He could have said, right, well, it's no good being imaginative because my boss said I wasn't imaginative or that I don't have original ideas. But he was resilient and he said, no, I am going to follow my dreams. And that's really what I want you to push yourselves to do every single day. Be resilient and always make sure that you are being your best. So what does it actually mean then to be your best? And I say this quite a lot to all of you. I say, if you are your best, if you are being your best, no one can knock you for that, can they? Nobody can tell you that you needed to do something different if you are trying your best. So what does that mean? Well, it means putting 100% effort in at all times. It means asking questions to further your knowledge. So if you don't understand something, for example, Are you asking questions to make sure that you do understand so that you can be your best? Are you being resilient by saying, I don't understand that yet, but I will understand it? That's resilience, isn't it? It's that bouncing back all of the time. And it's not comparing yourself to others. I don't ever want to hear people comparing themselves to each other, because your best might be different to your best friend's best. And it doesn't matter, does it? Because actually, all of you can do absolutely anything if you put your mind to it. 100%, you can do anything, you can achieve anything, you can be anything if you just put your mind to it. And if you are resilient and you ensure that you are your best at all times. And I really hope that you consider that and reflect on that, about what you can do to be your very best. And I just wanted to share with you just a short story about someone who, for me, epitomises being his best. So he strived to be the best he could be. And this was regardless of this gentleman's situation. So again, there is a little YouTube video link there at the top if you want to find out some extra information. But there was a gentleman called Rick Hoyt, and he was starved of oxygen at birth, and was born a quadriplegic, and had cerebral palsy. And his parents were told from the doctors that there was little hope for him to lead a normal life. But actually, through the use of a computer, Rick was able to communicate with others. So he had a computer set up through his wheelchair, and he was able to communicate with others despite his parents being told he wouldn't be able to communicate. And one spring, Rick said to his father that he wanted to participate in a 5-mile run. So it was a charity run, and it was for a lacrosse player, so that's an American sport, who'd been paralysed in an accident. So a young man had been paralysed in an accident, and Rick Hoyt wanted to raise money for him. And his father wasn't a long distance runner, but he said, okay, Rick, I will push you in your wheelchair and we'll do all 5 miles. And they came in next to last. So they were second from last. But it didn't matter, because that night Rick said to his dad, Dad, when I'm running, it feels like I'm not handicapped anymore. Which broke his dad's heart, you know, to hear that. And that he'd been able to fulfill a dream, and that Rick was supporting somebody else irrespective of his situation. And then off the back of that, he continued to participate in multiple races. So he participated in marathons, triathlons, Ironman competitions, and he raised money and awareness for disabled people or people with learning difficulties. Now, is that not being the best you can be? So not only did he have his own difficulties and his own needs, but he said, no, I'm going to be the best I can be, and I'm going to help others and raise awareness for others as well, which is just amazing, isn't it? And Rick was once asked that if he could give his dad one thing, what would it be? And Rick said, the thing I'd like most is for my dad to sit in the chair and I would push him for once. So he was asked, you know, if he could just give his dad one thing, what would it be? Well, it was so that he could do something for his dad. Now, why am I sharing Rick's story with you? Well, because Rick always strived to be the best he could be, regardless of his situation. And Rick's dad had unwavering support for him. I want you to reflect on that. Do you always do the same? In both situations. So are you like Rick? And do you always strive to be the best you can be? And also, are you like Rick's dad? So do you always support others? And do you always support others to be the best they can be? So yes, whilst today's assembly is about resilience and about you bouncing back from situations yourself, actually, when you are bouncing back from those situations, please consider the support that you may have had to enable you to be resilient, and then reflect on whether you too are being supportive of others and helping them to be the best that they can be. And that for me, you know, is a really inspirational story. And if you'd like to hear more about that again, please click that YouTube link. So, in regards to sort of the reflection from that then, this week I really want you to consider, am I being the best I could possibly be? Could you push yourself a little bit harder? Do you need to be more resilient? And then finally, could you support someone else to be the best that they can be? So I just want you to consider those questions there. You might want to take a picture on your phone of the laptop screen and look back on your camera roll throughout the week and ask yourselves those questions. Or you might want to talk to somebody at home about those reflective questions. So you might want to ask a parent or a carer, you know, how could I push myself a little bit harder? What do you think? How could I support somebody else within our home to be the best that they can be? And I've put a few little sort of quotes at the bottom there. You know how much I like an inspirational quote. But I really like the one on the left-hand side. When something goes wrong in your life, just yell, plot twist, and move on. That's being resilient, isn't it? It doesn't matter if something's gone wrong. It's just a plot twist. We're going to move on from it. We're going to be the best that we can be. So really keep that in mind for today, folks, and for the remainder of the week. And if any of you want to talk to me about that, you can post on Teams, on your year group team, or on the Aldersley staff and students team, or you can drop me an email. Okay, so just a quick reminder, make sure we're using Teams appropriately, please. I think you're all doing an absolutely brilliant job of this. It's great to see that you are also polite, that you are showing respect to your teachers and each other at all times. Remember to do the same within your live lessons as well. So remember, if the teacher's talking, make sure that you are silent, or that you click the raise your hand part on Teams, or you ask a question in the chat box. But make sure we're communicating with your teachers formally at all times. Remember to access those daily lessons, make sure you're ready, make sure you're prepared, make sure you're prepared for that. Now remember, year 10 and 12 students will be attending all live lessons, but for year 7, 8 and 9 there might be some live lessons dotted about throughout your week, so keep an eye out for when your teacher says that they are going live. And don't forget, there is a plethora of additional extracurricular work, competitions, challenges, ways to win points on Teams as well. So please make sure you're visiting your year group team, the whole school team, because there are always lots of messages on there, lots of key information to support you. And challenge yourself during tutor time as well if you want to. And I've just popped the little image on the right-hand side there. How many of you can tick off everything from the wellbeing bingo there this week? How many of you can? Let me know. There'll be some points on their way to you if you can. As a reminder, we want to make sure that you are staying safe, both online in our virtual school and in general. We want to make sure that you're keeping safe. Remember, if you need any support, all of your heads of year are available and are here to help you at all times. They're online from 8 till 4, so please email them if you need anything, and make sure you're keeping in contact with us. If there's anything that you need, we are all here to support you. And that's all from me, folks. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Enjoy heading over to your period 1 lessons now. And really, please reflect on resilience this week and how you are going to be your very best self at all times. Have a great day, folks, and I shall speak to you all soon. Stay safe.